Over the following months, James's presence became a steady part of Maria's family life. He continued to provide guidance, support, and friendship, but more importantly, he became a symbol of hope and stability. Maria's confidence grew with every small success, and the children began to thrive in ways they never had before. Each day brought new challenges, but the family faced them together, with James as a trusted and caring ally. One bright morning, James accompanied Maria and the children to the local community center. Maria had been accepted into a longer training program that would improve her job opportunities significantly. She was nervous as balancing the course, her part-time work, and caring for 5 children was not easy. James offered encouragement and practical support, helping to arrange schedules, transportation, and childcare. "You can do this," he reminded her. "Take it step by step and remember, you're not alone." Maria smiled, grateful for his unwavering support. "I never imagined anyone would care this much about us," she said quietly. "You've changed our lives more than I can ever explain." James shrugged, a small smile on his face. "I just wanted to help. Seeing you all succeed and be happy, that's enough for me." As Maria began her training, James continued to help the children with their daily routines. He tutored them when needed, read stories, played games, and encouraged them to explore new hobbies and interests. Slowly, he watched them grow more confident and independent. The eldest daughter became a strong leader for her younger siblings, now with guidance and support rather than overwhelming responsibility. The sons learned to manage small tasks on their own and embrace schoolwork with pride. Even the youngest child, who had been shy and cautious, began to speak up and play freely with his siblings and friends. James also helped Maria create a stable home environment. Together they organized chores, set up routines for meals and homework, and established a sense of order that the children had never experienced before. Maria was amazed at how much calmer and happier the household became. She began to see that her efforts, combined with James's help, could truly transform their daily lives. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Maria shared news that brought joy and relief. "I've been offered a permanent position at the clinic," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "It's a step toward a better future for all of us." James smiled warmly, pride shining in his eyes. "I knew you could do it," he said. "You've worked so hard and shown so much courage. This is only the beginning." The children cheered, excited for their mother's success and the new possibilities it represented. For the first time in years, the family felt secure. Their home was stable, their mother's income steady, and their futures brighter than they had imagined. James felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that his support had played a part in making this transformation possible. As the weeks passed, James continued to guide and support the family, but the relationship between him and Maria evolved into something deeper. They shared quiet moments together, discussing dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. Maria's gratitude for James's unwavering support grew into a bond of trust and mutual respect. She began to confide in him not just about practical concerns, but about her feelings and aspirations. One afternoon, as they watched the children play in the yard, Maria spoke softly. "You've done more for us than anyone ever could," she said. "You've given my children stability, happiness, and love, and you've helped me believe in myself again." James looked at her, his heart filled with warmth. "I didn't do it alone. You were already strong and determined. I just helped you see it and supported you along the way. And the children, they're incredible. You've raised them well." Maria smiled, a mixture of humility and pride in her expression. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted. "You became part of our family. James, not just a friend, but someone we can rely on, someone who cares for us in ways I never expected." The children, sensing the special bond, ran to hug James. He laughed, feeling a sense of belonging he had not experienced in years. His heart, once heavy with grief and loneliness, now felt full of life and purpose. Through helping this family, he had discovered the joy of connection, the satisfaction of giving, and the profound impact that compassion and kindness could have on those in need. As the family settled into their new routines, James also encouraged Maria to think about long-term goals. He helped her plan for savings, explore educational opportunities, and even consider small projects that could bring additional income. With James's guidance, Maria began to dream bigger, confident that she could provide a secure and happy life for her children. One evening, after the children were asleep, Maria and James sat quietly on the porch of their apartment. The city lights shimmered in the distance and the night was calm. Maria spoke softly, reflecting on how much their lives had changed. "I never thought we could reach this point," she said. "It feels like a miracle, but I know it's because of you. You believed in us when no one else did." James shook his head. "I only did what anyone with a heart would do," he said. "But seeing how much you've grown, how strong you are, that's the real miracle. You've done all the hard work. I just helped guide the way." Maria took his hand, a silent gesture of gratitude and trust. "You've given us more than help," she said. "You've given us hope, love, and a chance to live without fear. That's something we'll never forget." Over the next few months, the family's life continued to improve. Maria's job provided stability, the children excelled in school, and the apartment became a warm and lively home. James remained a constant presence, sharing in their joys and supporting them through challenges. He watched the children grow, laugh, and thrive, knowing that the love and care they received would shape their future in profound ways. Through this journey, James learned lessons he would carry with him forever. He realized that even in the face of loss, loneliness, and personal struggle, it was possible to find purpose and fulfillment through compassion and action. By helping Maria and her children, he not only transformed their lives but also healed his own heart. The final lesson he learned was perhaps the most profound of all. Life's greatest gifts often come from the most unexpected places. A mother begging for food with 5 children by her side had entered his life and, in doing so, had given him a new family, a renewed sense of purpose, and a deep understanding of human resilience. As James walked home one evening after visiting the family, he reflected on the journey. He thought about the first day he had met Maria and her children, the fear and uncertainty they had faced, and the progress they had made together. It was a journey filled with challenges but also filled with hope, growth, and love. He knew that the family would continue to thrive, that Maria would succeed in her career, and that the children would grow up confident, compassionate, and resilient. And he knew that his life too had been forever changed by this experience. In helping them, he had discovered the true meaning of connection, the power of kindness, and the beauty of giving without expecting anything in return. That night, as James lay in bed, he felt a sense of peace and fulfillment he had not known in years. The loneliness that had haunted him after his wife's death had been replaced by a profound sense of purpose. He smiled to himself, thinking of Maria and the children, imagining their laughter, their smiles, and the bright future that lay ahead. Through this journey, James learned that even small acts of compassion could have a ripple effect, changing lives in ways one could never fully predict. And he understood that sometimes the most profound lessons came from those who seemed to have the least, yet possessed the greatest strength. In the end, James realized that life, with all its hardships and uncertainties, was also filled with opportunities to make a difference. By opening his heart to Maria and her children, he had not only helped them rebuild their lives, but had also discovered a renewed sense of hope, love, and purpose within himself. The family's journey was far from over, but they faced the future with courage, confidence, and unity. And James, once a lonely widower, had found a new family, a new mission, and a new reason to believe in the power of human kindness. The life he had once thought was empty and lonely had transformed into one filled with connection, love, and hope, a life that he knew would continue to grow stronger every day. As the days turned into weeks, James's role in Maria's life became even more significant. What had started as occasional visits to provide food and small necessities had grown into a deeper connection, one built on trust and understanding. Maria began to rely on James not only for practical help, but also for emotional support. She trusted him to listen without judgment, to offer advice when needed, and to celebrate small victories with her. One afternoon, James arrived at the small apartment that Maria had finally been able to secure through the temporary housing program he had helped her apply for. The space was modest, just 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, and a single bathroom, but it was warm, safe, and dry. For Maria and her children, it was a sanctuary, a place where they could finally feel secure. The children ran ahead, exploring every corner of their new home with excitement. James followed, carrying a few groceries and supplies he had picked up on his way. "This is amazing," the eldest daughter said, her eyes wide as she looked around. "We actually have a place to call our own," James smiled. "You earned it," he said. "All of you." You've been so strong, and this is just the beginning. Maria led James into the living room and offered him a chair. I don't know how to thank you, she said, her voice soft but filled with gratitude. You've done so much for us, more than I could ever imagine. You don't need to thank me, James replied. Seeing you safe, happy, and together, that's thanks enough. The children gathered around, eager to help unpack the groceries and organize their belongings. James joined in, laughing with them as they bickered over who would set the table and who would arrange the fruit. The atmosphere was light, filled with laughter and energy, a stark contrast to the anxiety and fear that had followed them for so long. Over the next few days, James helped Maria establish routines in the apartment. He showed the children how to tidy their rooms, organize their belongings, and assist their mother with simple chores. Maria watched, impressed by James's patience and skill in guiding the children without making them feel scolded or pressured. His presence brought a sense of calm and stability to the household, something they had been missing for years. One evening, as the family sat down to a simple dinner, Maria shared her hopes for the future. I want to work, to provide for my children, and to build a life where we never have to worry about food or shelter again, she said. It's hard to imagine, but I believe it's possible now. James nodded. It is possible, he said firmly. You have the courage, the intelligence, and the determination. And you have people who care about you. We'll take it one step at a time, and eventually you'll reach your goals. As they talked, James noticed how much the children had grown in confidence. The eldest daughter, who had once carried the weight of the household on her small shoulders, now smiled more freely and even joked with her younger siblings. The boys laughed and played without fear, knowing that their mother and James were there to support them. Even the youngest, who had once clung to his mother nervously, began to explore his surroundings with curiosity and joy. James also encouraged Maria to pursue her own education and skills training. He helped her enroll in a short course that would improve her job prospects and gave her advice on balancing work, study, and family responsibilities. Maria was nervous at first, unsure if she could manage everything, but James reassured her. You are stronger than you think, he said. Take it step by step and remember you're not alone. During this time, James witnessed moments that touched him deeply. One evening, the eldest daughter came to him quietly. Thank you for everything you do, she said. I know it's not your responsibility, but you care about us anyway. That means a lot. James knelt down to her level. You don't have to thank me, he said softly. I care because you're all amazing kids and your mother is incredible. Seeing you happy and safe is all the thanks I need. These moments reminded James why he had become so invested in their lives. He realized that his support was not just about food, clothing, or temporary housing. It was about giving the family confidence, stability, and hope. Through small, consistent acts, he was helping them rebuild their lives from the ground up. One rainy afternoon, James arrived with umbrellas and raincoats for the children. The apartment's small living room became a lively space as the children tried on the new items, laughing and twirling around. Maria watched, smiling with relief, knowing that the children's basic needs were being met in a way they had never experienced before. James, she said quietly, you've done more for us than anyone ever has. You didn't just give us things, you gave us peace. You gave my children a chance to be children again. James felt a lump in his throat. I'm just glad I could help, he said. But the real strength comes from you. You've kept this family together through so much. That's what matters most. As time went on, James also helped the family navigate challenges that arose unexpectedly. One day, the eldest son came home upset because he had been teased at school for wearing worn clothes. James spoke with the boy calmly, teaching him about resilience, confidence, and the importance of self-respect. He reminded him that material things did not define a person, and that the family's love and unity were far more valuable than appearances. The boy listened, absorbing the lesson, and soon returned to school with renewed confidence. Maria watched these interactions with gratitude. She knew that James's presence was teaching her children lessons she could not always provide. They were learning kindness, patience, and compassion, as well as practical skills for navigating the world. James's guidance gave her peace of mind, allowing her to focus on her work and personal growth without worrying constantly about the children's well-being. One evening, after the children were asleep, James and Maria sat quietly in the living room. The soft glow of a lamp illuminated their faces as they reflected on how far the family had come. "I never imagined we could reach this point," Maria said softly. "It feels like a dream." James smiled. "It's real," he said. "You've worked hard, stayed strong, and accepted help when you needed it. That's how we've gotten here." Maria nodded, her eyes glistening. "You've taught me so much," she admitted. "Not just about surviving, but about trusting, about hope, and about believing that good things can happen." James felt a sense of fulfillment unlike anything he had experienced in years. His grief, loneliness, and feelings of helplessness had been replaced by purpose, connection, and a sense of accomplishment. Helping Maria and her children had not only improved their lives, it had transformed his own. The next morning, James and Maria attended an appointment at the community center, where Maria would begin a short training program to improve her job prospects. James helped her fill out forms, offered guidance, and reassured her with quiet encouragement. "You're capable of this," he said. "Take it one step at a time. You've already faced more than most people could imagine." Maria smiled, a mixture of determination and gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "I feel like I can finally see a future for my children and myself." As they left the community center, James noticed the children waiting outside, playing and laughing together. He realized that this family was no longer just surviving. They were growing, thriving, and learning to embrace life again. It was a sight that filled him with pride and joy, knowing that his efforts had contributed to this transformation. In these moments, James learned an important lesson about human resilience and connection. Life was unpredictable, often unfair, and sometimes harsh. But through consistent care, empathy, and support, individuals could rise above challenges and create a better future. Maria and her children had taught him that strength came in many forms, not only in endurance but also in love, courage, and the willingness to accept help when needed. By the end of Part 4, James had become more than a friend or helper. He had become an essential part of the family. His presence brought stability, guidance, and hope, helping Maria and her children build a life that felt safe, secure, and full of possibility. In turn, he discovered a renewed sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of human connection, and a profound appreciation for the power of compassion and perseverance. Over the next few weeks, James became more involved in Maria's life. At first, he simply visited to bring food, clothes, and small gifts for the children. But soon he realized that the family needed more than temporary help. He began to think about how he could create lasting support for them. The thought of leaving Maria and her children to continue struggling alone was unbearable. He knew he had to do more, even if it required effort and time that he did not always have. One Saturday morning, James arrived at the park with a notebook in hand. He had spent the previous evening researching local resources, charities, shelters, food programs, and free school programs for children. He wanted to present options to Maria so she could make choices about their future. When he saw the family waiting for him, their faces brightened. The children ran to greet him, and Maria gave him a grateful smile. "Good morning," James said cheerfully. "I've been doing some research, and I think I've found a few ways that might help you get back on your feet." Maria's eyes widened. "Really?" she asked. "You've done all that for us?" James nodded. "I wanted to. You've been handling everything alone, and I think it's time someone helped you find a better path. We can start with small steps, one at a time." He spread the notebook open on the park bench and began explaining the programs he had found. There was a local food pantry that provided weekly groceries, a community center offering free childcare for working mothers, and a temporary housing program that could provide a small apartment for a few months while Maria got back on her feet. He also noted a few organizations that offered job placement assistance and skills training for adults. Maria listened carefully, her expression a mixture of relief and hesitation. "I don't want to take too much from anyone," she said quietly. "I just want to do my best for my children." James placed a reassuring hand on her arm. "You're not taking too much. You're accepting help so you can provide for them better. That's all anyone can ask. And you've earned it. You've been working so hard, and this is just a way to give you support." The conversation lasted for hours as they discussed each option and made a plan. Maria agreed to visit the community center and apply for temporary housing. James offered to accompany her to the appointments and help fill out paperwork. It was the first time in months that Maria felt she had a real chance at stability, and the hope in her eyes was unmistakable. Meanwhile, James also focused on the children. He began spending time with them in small, meaningful ways, reading books, helping with basic homework, and teaching them simple life skills. The eldest daughter, who had been taking on adult responsibilities since her father left, found a companion in James. She could confide in him about the worries she carried for her younger siblings, and he listened patiently, offering guidance when needed. The boys started to open up too, sharing stories about school, play, and the small victories they experienced each day. One afternoon, James noticed that the children had developed a routine of their own. They played games together, shared chores without being asked, and even helped their mother with small tasks. It was a sight that warmed James's heart. Despite the hardships they faced, the family had created a sense of unity and resilience that was rare. He realized that his support was not just about material help. It was about nurturing these connections, reinforcing their confidence and showing them that someone cared. James also began to learn about Maria's dreams and ambitions. She confided in him that she had once wanted to be a nurse, but life had diverted her from that path. She wanted to provide for her children in a way that ensured they would never go hungry, or feel the fear she had felt since her husband left. James encouraged her to consider training programs and community courses that could help her achieve her goals. He believed in her abilities and wanted her to see herself as capable, strong, and worthy of success. Through their interactions, James realized how much he was learning from Maria as well. Her perseverance, courage, and creativity in managing daily challenges inspired him. He began to understand that strength was not only about physical ability or wealth, it was about facing life with determination, even when the odds were stacked against you. Watching her handle crises with calm and focus, James felt a deep respect and admiration for the woman who had become an unexpected teacher in his life. One evening, as the sun began to set, James and Maria sat on the park bench while the children played nearby. They talked about the day's progress, the steps they had taken toward stability, and the small victories that often went unnoticed. Maria smiled softly. "I never thought I could feel hope again," she admitted. "But you've helped me see that maybe we can have a better future." James nodded. "I'm glad I can help, and I think you'll find that you're stronger than you realize. You've already survived so much. This is just another step, and you're not alone anymore." As weeks passed, James's support grew more practical and structured. He helped Maria organize her finances, teaching her simple budgeting skills to manage the small income she earned from temporary jobs. He assisted with job applications and even drove her to interviews, ensuring that transportation was never an obstacle. The children adapted well to the new routines, attending school regularly, completing assignments, and learning to help with household tasks in a way that made the environment more manageable for their mother. The family's progress was gradual but steady. There were setbacks, of course, interview rejections, lost opportunities, and moments of frustration. But James remained patient and supportive. He celebrated small victories with them, a week of uninterrupted school attendance, a successful job interview, or a meal prepared without worry about running out of supplies. These moments of success, however minor, helped the family gain confidence and momentum. During this time, James also reflected on his own life. He had been trapped in grief for so long, living day to day without purpose beyond work. Helping Maria and her children gave him meaning. He realized that by giving, he was receiving in return, not material rewards, but emotional fulfillment and a renewed sense of life. The family's resilience reminded him that human connection was more powerful than any solitary struggle. One rainy afternoon, James arrived at the park with umbrellas and raincoats for the children. The park was nearly empty, but he found Maria and the kids huddled under a tree. He handed out the raincoats and umbrellas, smiling as the children squealed with delight. "You didn't have to," Maria said again, her voice soft but warm. "I wanted to," James replied. "You've been working so hard, and it's time someone made life a little easier for you. You deserve it." It was in these quiet, ordinary moments that James truly understood the impact of his presence. It was not about grand gestures or dramatic rescues. It was about consistency, care, and attention to the family's needs. Through small acts, he was helping to rebuild a life that had been fragile and unstable for too long. As part 3 comes to a close, James had become more than a helper. He had become a friend, a mentor, and a steady source of support. The bond between him and Maria's family had deepened, built on trust, respect, and shared hope. He had learned lessons about patience, resilience, and the profound effect of human compassion. And as he watched the children laugh, play, and grow, he realized that his own life had been transformed in ways he had never anticipated. The weeks ahead promised challenges, but with every step forward, James knew that together they could face them, and in helping them navigate a difficult world, he was discovering a new purpose, a renewed sense of hope, and a connection that would change his life forever. The next morning, James woke up earlier than usual. His mind was still filled with thoughts of Maria and her 5 children. He could not forget the way their eyes had lit up when they received food, or the quiet strength the mother had shown despite her struggles. That day, instead of heading straight to the warehouse, he made a small detour to a local market. He wanted to bring more than just a meal. He wanted to offer hope, even if it was just a small gesture. He bought fresh bread, some fruits, cheese, and a few small toys for the children. While selecting the items, he thought about the conversations he had with Maria. Her honesty had struck him deeply. She had not asked for anything beyond what she needed, yet she carried herself with a dignity that few people in her situation managed to maintain. He respected her, and the more he learned about her, the more he wanted to help. Carrying the bags carefully, James walked back toward the park where he had met them the night before. The children were playing quietly with sticks and leaves, their laughter muted but joyful. Maria was nearby, watching over them with a tired but gentle smile. When she saw James approaching, her eyes widened and she gave a small nod of acknowledgement. "I brought more food," James said, setting down the bags, "and a few things for the children." The children rushed forward, their small hands eager to see the treats. James handed out the toys and helped distribute the food. The youngest boy hugged a small toy car to his chest and smiled shyly at James. The mother watched the scene quietly, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "You didn't have to do this," Maria said softly. "I want to," James replied. "You've all been through so much and I can't just walk away. I want to help however I can." Maria hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It means more than you know." As they shared breakfast together on the park bench, James asked about the family's situation in more detail. Maria explained how she had struggled to keep the children fed and safe after her husband left. Each child had their own needs, their own small fears and hopes. The eldest daughter, Maria said, had begun taking on responsibilities to help care for the younger ones. The boys helped where they could, and despite the lack of a home, Maria did her best to create a sense of stability for them. James listened intently, absorbing every word. He felt a mixture of admiration and sadness. The mother's resilience was remarkable, but he knew the strain it placed on her. He wanted to do more than provide food. He wanted to find a way to make their daily life less frightening, less uncertain. "Have you tried looking for a job?" James asked carefully, not wanting to seem intrusive. I've applied here and there," Maria replied. "But with 5 children, it's difficult. No one wants to hire someone who might need to leave at a moment's notice. I've been trying to figure out how to manage, but sometimes it feels impossible." James nodded, understanding her frustration. He thought about ways he could help, even beyond just giving food. Maybe he could connect her with local charities, or help her find a place where the children could attend school safely. He realized that even small actions could create a ripple effect, improving their lives step by step. After breakfast, James helped the children tidy the small area where they had been sitting. He noticed how careful they were with the toys and food, and he could see the pride in Maria's eyes as she watched them. There was a bond between them, a family unit that thrived even in adversity. James felt a growing respect for them, and he began to understand that strength was not just about survival, it was about love, patience, and commitment, all qualities Maria demonstrated daily. Over the next few days, James returned several times. Each visit deepened his understanding of their struggles and their courage. He brought groceries, helped organize the children's small belongings, and even read stories to them when Maria had to step away for brief errands. The children began to recognize him, greeting him with shy smiles and hesitant waves at first, but gradually with more confidence and warmth. One afternoon, As they sat together, sharing a simple lunch, Maria confided in James about her fears for the future. "I worry every day," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what will happen if I can't provide for them. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing them." James placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You're not failing them," he said firmly. "You're doing everything you can, and that counts more than anything else. You've kept them safe, fed, and loved. That is no small feat." Maria looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "But what if one day I can't keep going?" James thought carefully before answering. "Then we'll figure it out together. You're not alone. Sometimes life is hard, but that doesn't mean you have to face it alone." The children listened quietly, sensing the seriousness of the conversation. Their mother's expression softened, and James could see a small shift in her demeanor, as if a burden had been lifted slightly by the knowledge that someone cared enough to stay. Through these moments, James began to learn more about himself as well. He realized that his own grief had kept him isolated, that he had been avoiding connection out of fear of pain. Yet here, with Maria and her children, he found purpose and meaning. Helping them did not erase his sorrow, but it gave it direction. Instead of feeling lost, he felt needed, valued, and alive in a way he had not in years. James also learned the importance of listening. Maria shared her thoughts and worries openly, and he discovered that sometimes the simplest act of listening could provide comfort beyond material help. By paying attention to their stories, understanding their struggles, and offering empathy, he was able to build trust and strengthen the bond between them. As the days turned into weeks, James became a constant presence in their lives. He helped Maria organize her limited resources, planned simple meals that could last for several days, and even introduced small routines to help the children feel more secure. The children grew more comfortable around him, often running to greet him and share stories of their day. The youngest boy would hold James's hand while walking, a gesture that made James's heart swell with affection and protectiveness. One evening, after a particularly long day, James and Maria sat together watching the children play. The sun was setting, casting a golden light over the park. Maria leaned back, exhaustion evident on her face, but there was also a smile, a rare moment of peace. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. "You don't have to thank me," James replied. "I'm glad I can help. Seeing them happy, even for a little while, makes all of this worth it." Maria looked at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude and something deeper, a connection that went beyond words. "You've given us more than food," she said. "You've given us hope." James felt a lump in his throat. He had never thought of himself as heroic or special, but he realized that even small acts of kindness could make a tremendous difference in someone's life. The experience had changed him as much as it had helped them. That night, walking home after leaving the park, James thought about the journey ahead. He knew there would be challenges, that Maria and her children faced an uncertain future, but he also knew that together, they could face it. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, a belief that even in the darkest times, human connection could provide strength, hope, and healing. James understood now that helping this family was not just about food or resources. It was about love, compassion, and being present. It was about sharing humanity in a world that often overlooked those who struggled, and in that presence he found his own path to healing, a way to move forward from his grief and isolation. As he closed his eyes that night, he imagined the children sleeping peacefully, the mother resting with a little less worry, and a future that, while uncertain, held promise. James knew that tomorrow, he would return, ready to continue helping, learning, and growing alongside the family who had unexpectedly entered his life. James walked down the quiet street, the cold wind biting at his cheeks. The evening sky had a faint orange glow from the setting sun, but it did little to lift his spirits. Life had not been kind to him lately. After his wife passed away unexpectedly 2 years ago, he had tried to carry on, but the loneliness was a heavy weight that never seemed to lift. His small apartment felt empty and silent, the ticking of the clock echoing through the rooms like a reminder of everything he had lost. Work at the warehouse helped distract him, but it was grueling and often left him too exhausted to think about anything else. Still, the loneliness waited for him at home, patient and unyielding. That evening, as he turned a corner, he noticed something unusual. A small group of people stood near the entrance of a tiny grocery store. At first he thought they were waiting for someone, but as he came closer, he realized that it was a young mother with several children. Their clothes were worn and their faces were pale from hunger and exhaustion. The children clutched at each other, standing close to their mother, who seemed to shrink under the weight of their need. James slowed his pace, unsure if he should interfere. He had seen poverty before, but there was something different about this scene. The mother's eyes, tired yet filled with determination, caught his attention. The children looked up at the store with hopeful eyes, but no one inside seemed to notice them. It was a quiet plea, almost invisible, but James felt it in his chest. The mother noticed him watching and hesitated. Her eyes flicked between him and the store, a mixture of shame and desperation. James could see the struggle in her face, the pride that refused to fully give in to her circumstances. For a moment he felt a connection to her, a shared understanding of loss and hardship. He remembered the days after his wife had died, when he had walked these same streets feeling invisible and alone. He stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "Hello," he said softly. The mother's gaze met his and she nodded, unsure of what to say. He noticed her hands were rough and worn, probably from hard work that was never enough. Her hair was pulled back tightly, but strands had escaped and framed her face in a way that made her look even more exhausted. I don't mean to bother you," James said, "but are you okay? Do you need help?" The mother swallowed hard, her voice trembling slightly as she replied, We just don't have any food tonight. My children, they are very hungry." She looked down at the children, who shifted nervously, their small hands intertwined. "I don't know where else to go." James felt a sudden surge of compassion. He had never been particularly wealthy, but he had money for groceries, for rent, for basic needs. And yet, here was a mother with 5 children standing on the street facing hunger with courage he could not ignore. Something inside him moved, a sense of purpose he had not felt in a long time. He nodded slowly. "I can help," he said. "Come with me. Let's get you something to eat." The mother's eyes widened slightly, disbelief mixed with hope. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Yes," James said. "I have enough for all of you. You shouldn't have to go hungry." The children looked up at him, their eyes wide and cautious. They had probably seen strangers before, people who offered promises but never kept them. James crouched down to their level. "Hi," he said gently. "I'm James. Let's get you some food, okay?" A small smile flickered on the face of the youngest child, a boy no older than 4. He nodded shyly and clutched his mother's hand. The mother took a deep breath, relief washing over her features. "Thank you," she whispered. James led them into the grocery store. He picked up bread, milk, eggs, fruits, and some vegetables, careful to choose items that would provide enough for everyone for a few days. He added some small treats, crackers, and cookies, knowing the children needed not only food but a little comfort. As he moved through the aisles, he watched the children's eyes light up. They whispered to each other, pointing at things they had not had in a long time. James smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest that he had not known in months. At the checkout, he paid for everything and carried the bags outside. They walked together to a nearby park bench and he helped distribute the food. The children eagerly began to eat, their hunger evident in the way they devoured even the simplest items. The mother sat down next to James, her hands shaking slightly as she accepted a cup of water he offered her. "Where do you live?" James asked gently. The mother's face fell. We don't have a home right now. Our apartment was rented, but we couldn't pay and we had to leave. I've been moving us from place to place, trying to find shelter. Sometimes we sleep in the car, sometimes in friends' homes, but it's not enough." James felt a pang of sadness. He could not imagine what it must be like to care for 5 children alone, to feel the constant weight of responsibility with no support. And yet there was a strength in her voice, a determination to survive no matter what. "You're very brave," he said softly. "I can't imagine how hard this must be for you." The mother shook her head. "I just have to keep going. I have to keep them safe," James nodded. He did not have children himself, but he understood responsibility and love. He had loved his wife deeply, and losing her had left a hole in his life. Seeing this mother's courage stirred something in him he had not felt in a long time. They sat together for a while, sharing the food and talking quietly. The children laughed softly as they ate, the sound filling the space around them with a rare kind of joy. James realized that he had never felt such simple happiness in a long time. Helping them did not solve all their problems, but it made a difference for one evening, one meal, one moment. As the sun set completely, James knew he could not leave them entirely on their own again. He promised to come back and help in whatever way he could. The mother nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered again, her voice filled with sincerity. Walking home later that night, James felt a strange mix of exhaustion and purpose. The loneliness that had followed him for so long seemed a little lighter. He realized that helping others could bring meaning even to his own broken life. He thought about the mother and her children and the courage they displayed despite hunger and uncertainty. Their struggle had reminded him of what it meant to care, to act, and to connect with others. That night, James lay in his small bed, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in a long while, he felt a spark of hope. Tomorrow he would return to work, continue his life, but he would also continue to help the family he had met. Their story had become a part of his own, and he knew that in helping them, he was also helping himself heal from the pain that had weighed him down for so long. He closed his eyes, imagining the children smiling, their faces full of life despite the hardships they faced. And for the first time in months, he felt that life, no matter how difficult, still held moments of light and possibility.